said, Izzy, you cannot stay here tonight because there's going to be a selection. And you are weak, you cannot, never mind around, you cannot walk. I couldn't walk, that's how weak I was. And you know what's going to happen. So I said, but I cannot, even we had to walk from the camp to the factory, was about, say, 2 kilometers. And says, I cannot walk. I cannot do the work in the factory. Everyone had a quota, how much ammunition he had to produce. So they said, we'll take you. Believe it, 2 people carried me on their shoulders all the way from the camp to the factory. And when we came in there during the night, it was the night shift, and the foreman for my section was a Polish Meister. During the day, there was a lot of Germans in the factory. It was a ammunition factory, so they were there inspecting, checking. But at night, there was 1 or 2, and even he would look for a place where he can sit down and take a nap or sleep. So they brought me over to that Meister, to the foreman, and said, look, we brought here Izzy Arbeiter. He's sick, he cannot work. But we're gonna let him sit down in a corner, we'll cover him up with a blanket, and we will do his quota. You don't have to worry, you will have your quota, we'll do it for him. Which they did. They put me in the corner, covered me up with a blanket. They didn't have my quota, so the foreman had his quota work done, and everything was fine. In the morning, we came back to the camp. What do you think happened? During the night, there was a selection, and those that couldn't run fast enough were taken out and sent away, never to be seen again. With the food that I was getting, I was getting stronger, and finally, I was able to go to the factory, go back to work, and be there, so to say, normal, together with my friends. 1944, after Stalingrad, the Russian army were moving from the east, the Allied forces were moving from the west, and Germany was shrinking, the German army was shrinking. The Russian army was in Poland. And the closer that we get into the war in that ammunition factory, they liquidated the camp, they liquidated the ammunition factory, and now we were not needed anymore. So all the people from that factory, the Jewish people, were sent to their final solution, to Auschwitz. I'm sure you know what Auschwitz-Birkenau was. And so now I wound up in Auschwitz-Birkenau. I have my number. If you're interested, I will show it to you. That's my dead number from Auschwitz-Birkenau. I was not a person. I had no name. I was a number. I was called by the number. Every prisoner was called by the number. Auschwitz was the final destination and for the final solution. Nobody, up to the end of 1944, nobody came out from Auschwitz alive. There were 4 in Birkenau. Where I was, there were 4 gas chambers and crematoriums where the Germans' dirty work was taking place. But the Russians also were moving in closer to Poland and closer to Auschwitz, and so the Germans decided to liquidate Auschwitz. They destroyed the crematoriums, the gas chambers, and they didn't have enough time to liquidate us, so we were shipped out into Germany, because now the Germans needed people to perform slave labor in Germany. Even in 1944, where any decent, reasonable person knew that Germany lost the war, that the Allied armies from the west and the Russians from the east are just squeezing in. It's only a matter of time when they will have to capitulate. But Hitler told them that they're going to win the war, that he is working on a secret weapon, and that will win the war. And so they needed slave laborers. So now they shipped us to Germany, and they placed first there was a camp called Stutthof, and down deep in the way, Camp near Stuttgart, where I was assigned to airfield where we were building an airfield for night fighters for the protection of the city of Stuttgart. That was November of 1944. So didn't take very long, and the American Air Force came as they were flying over Germany the German Air Force was not existed anymore, and so they came over that airfield, destroyed the airfield, destroyed the airplanes. As a matter of fact, I remember that Sunday, it was a nice, beautiful, just like today, a beautiful day, and all of a sudden we heard the screaming, everybody out, there's Jewish planes here to pick us up. And we said, Jewish planes? Where did the Jews get planes? They haven't got bicycles, never mind, they've got shoes, never mind planes. The American planes were flying so low. You know, the American planes have an insignia, the 5-star. The Jewish is the 6-star. But we didn't know what American planes look like or what the insignias are. So when they saw blue and white planes with the insignias and the star, says this is Jewish planes. They're going to land on the airfield. They're going to pick us up. Well, the Americans had better ideas. They destroyed the airfield and all the planes that were there. So now they didn't need us anymore, and we were shipped to another place. Over there was a factory where the Germans tried to produce oil from rocks, from Shive. They lost the Romanian airfields, so now they needed oil for their machineries, for the planes, whatever. And so they were trying to produce oil there. So we placed the work there. The same thing, the Americans were chasing us, so to say, happily. They came there, destroyed that factory, destroyed the barracks, and that was now April. And by then, there was no need for us. So the order came from Himmler that no prisoners, no inmates of concentration camps should be allowed to fall in the hands of the Allied forces. And so now we were ordered on a dead march. We were ordered out of the camp. There was no food. The Germans didn't have any food for themselves. And we were marching, and we found out afterwards that the destination was to take us to South Tyrol, where there are abundant salt mines, place us in the salt mines, and destroy us there in the salt mines. And so we were walking the first night, I remember, during the night the Germans were afraid to march us because they're afraid people will start running away and will cause a problem. So they placed us in a barn, in a huge barn. And then we heard during the night a lot of commotion out there. There was a group of the guards that wanted to run away, wanted to save themselves. And so they said, why should we take those people and walk with them any further? We got to save ourselves. We got them in the barn. Why don't we put gasoline around the barn and light up and burn the barn with them inside, and we can run away, go home, or whatever it is. There was another group of the guard that said, no, we cannot do that. Maybe they were probably thinking what's going to happen to them if they're caught by the Allied forces. So they said, the destination is where we have to bring him, and that's where we're going to bring him and have him there. So anyways, they took us out in the morning from the bar. We kept walking. On the third day, we were liberated in the middle of the road, in the middle of the highway in Germany. The guards just left us, stay in the middle of the road, going through the forest, the Black Forest, Schwarzwald in Germany. It's the Black Forest. I know some people from here visited the Black Forest. And so we were liberated in the middle of the highway in the Black Forest. We took off from there and started running into the both sides of the